Good morning, my friends. Today we are going to be learning the last chapter in the laws of prayer, chapter 15. We're going to be continuing to discuss the idea which we started to explain yesterday in regards to the priestly blessing, the Birkat Kohanim, which the Kohanim would give the Jewish people a blessing which is spelled out in the Torah. It's a very special blessing, very special occasion. So the Rambam tells us today, in this chapter, that there are certain things that could prevent a Kohen from being able to give the priestly blessing. And this is what we're going to learn about today. So there are actually 6 factors, 6 things that can be a prevention for the Kohen to be able to give the blessing. And these are as follows. Someone who is not able to pronounce words properly. So, in other words, instead of saying sh, they're only able to say s, and so on and so forth. Instead of saying aleph, they pronounce the aleph differently. So, in other words, the idea being that someone who cannot pronounce words properly, so they should not go up to give the priestly blessing. Now the next thing is physical deformities. So in other words, if you have a Kohen who has a blemish on his hands, face, feet, whatever it is, so then because we don't want the congregation to be distracted when they go up there, so if everyone is very used to the deform that this Kohen had, so then it's okay. But if it's something which is very irregular and people are going to be staring at the person, which is obviously not nice, but it's going to distract them from the actual blessing, so then it's better that the Kohen should not go up to go do the Birkat Kohanim, the priestly blessing. The next item which could prevent someone from giving the blessing is a transgression. If a Kohen has sinned. So for instance, if a Kohen, God forbid, has killed someone by mistake, didn't mean it, but it happened, so then the Kohen should not go up to give the priestly blessing, because it says in the verse that your hands who are filled with blood should not give blessing. And also similarly, a Kohen who served idols, even if he repented, still he should not do the priestly blessing, because we're talking about service of God, where it says that you're serving and blessing the name of God, and someone who has committed idolatry, so then it would not be befitting for them to do that. So in other words, in general, when a person does teshuvah, a person repents, their repentance is accepted. But over here, since the priestly blessing is such a special thing, so therefore they should refrain from it. Now, the next item, which could be a prevention for doing the priestly blessing, is lack of maturity. In other words, a child who still is young should not go up to do the priestly blessing. The next item is a person who is intoxicated. As we said, that a person who is drunk should not do the Birkat Kohanim, should not do the priestly blessing. What does it mean that someone is drunk? So if a person drank less than 3 ounces, but they did it in 2 gulps, or they added some water to it to water it down, so then it's okay. But if they've had more than 3 ounces of wine, so it doesn't matter even if they did it in a few sips, or even if they added water to it to dilute it, still they should not go up to do the blessing. And the last thing is the idea of purification of hands. So a Kohen, before he goes up to do the priestly blessing, has to wash their hands. This similarly to the way the Kohanim, the priests in the temple, they would also wash their hands before they started working in the temple. So a Kohen who does not have any of these above mentioned problems, so then even if it's a very simple Kohen, even if he's not a very learned person, even if doesn't no great qualities, still, because they are a Kohen, so they most definitely should go and bless the Jewish people. And maybe you'll ask, well, 1 second, who is this person? I'll be getting a blessing from this person. Who are they to be giving me a blessing? So the Rambam says that first of all, the blessing is coming from God. And therefore, of course, God is going to be giving the blessing. And we don't tell a wicked person, you're so wicked, don't do anything good. On the contrary, if a person who is not doing well, we should get them to be involved in doing more positive things. And at the end of the day, God is the one that's giving the blessing, and He, of course, wants to give the Jewish people the blessings. Now, when the priests are giving the blessing, so all the congregation should be standing either beside them and in front of them. The people who are behind them, because the Kohen is supposed to face the crowd, so the people who are behind them are not included in the blessing. But even if there is a wall or a partition which is blocking between the front of the Kohanim to the congregation, even if someone is in, so to speak, the next room, still, if they are in front of the Kohen, so then they are included in the blessing. And we can only do the priestly blessing if there is a minyan, if there's a congregation of 10 people. Even if the Kohen himself, or if there's a few Kohanim, if the priests are part of the 10, that's okay. As long as there are 10 people in the room, then we are fine. If there is a congregation that only there is one Kohen, and it's the person who is leading the service, so then he shouldn't do the priestly blessing, because we don't want him to get distracted from the prayer, unless we know the person knows for a fact the Kohen says, I'll be okay, I'll be able to do it and continue praying properly afterwards, so then that's okay. If there is no Kohen whatsoever, so then the leader of the congregation, when he comes up to the part where we have the priestly blessing, so then he will say that this is the blessing which it says in the Torah that the Kohanim should give, that the priests give the Jewish people, and here it is, and he reads the blessing just on his own. If you have a Kohen that went to shul, so it's Shabbat morning, or the holiday morning, or in Israel every single day, so then he comes to the shul and he does the priestly blessing. And he finished. Now he goes on. Now he comes to a different synagogue. He comes to a different congregation later on. And they are exactly holding in the prayer before the priestly blessing. And they're like, hey, you're a Kohen. Come, we need a Kohen. So he should definitely go and do it. And he can even do it many times throughout the day. If it's different places, he can definitely do it. And a Kohen who does not go up to do the priestly blessing, it's a very negative thing. Because the Torah clearly says that they should do it. Actually, in 3 different places, the Torah says that a Kohen should be giving the priestly blessing. So if they don't do it, so then they're going to be missing out on the opportunity to give blessing to the Jewish people. And God, in turn, also gives them blessing. So that's a very, very important thing. And they should definitely join the opportunity to be able to bless the Jewish people and ultimately be blessed from God Himself. And with that, my friends, we have completed all the 15 chapters of the laws of prayer. And tomorrow, God willing, we will continue to a new set of laws, as we shall see the laws of Tefillin, Mezuzah, and the Sefer Torah, which we are going to be learning tomorrow. So, in the meantime, review these chapters. It was very fascinating to learn all about the laws of prayer in general, regular prayer, holiday prayer, reading of the Torah, priestly blessing, all the various parts of what we've studied about. Very practical, very realistic. Get a prayer book, look through it, see what we're talking about, and get down to prayer. So, have a very good day, my friends. We will see you all tomorrow.